the application dot underscore or minus production application dot minus test application minus UA dot properties. Then this means that in the jar file, this is containing all the application properties files, and you try to override it means with this prefix. So for our case, we set up is a prefix here, dev environments, which environment we try to install. If you are installing this application in the production, just set it here production, and if you are installing the application in the test, just set test, and it will override your application.properties files, and with your which machine, where is Java located, which machine is the port is free, which machine you try to install, and this is the jar files in the Active Directory loading or your local file loading. Maybe this machine you locally deploy, you copy the jar files to send it to the installation department. They will copy the jar file and they will set these environmental settings parameters, the variables, and then run the applications. And let's go further. So you set the key space, and then this is most important, where the jar file is located. Then you put in your key space, and this is the properties. You see that this is the jar file located, but it's locally. But you can just simply copy the jar files into your local directory or your machine server, and it works automatically. So we set the jar files. Doesn't matter where it's located, depending, and then you set the development, which environment you try to install it, and then set it development environments locally, and then you contract points, and then this is rel release environments. Maybe you have 5 environments, or maybe you have more, depending. And we try to install the application in development environments, and then it works. And then our development environment, so which locally install. So you see the 127.0.0.0.1, the standard local host, and then this is our port is free in the development environments, deployment environments. I mean this the where the Cassandra port, the standard port number in the Cassandra database. Maybe they have different ports. You can select it, or different servers, and then ports. But just those who have no idea how it works, you can Google it. How can works the Spring Boot profilings, multi-profilings. But that's this time we made a plan to make it really clear screencast about how can you do the any cases. How can you make the Spring Boot profiles for any Spring Boot application. That's how we try to do in the later days or next days to give it to you, but we didn't have enough time to build those things. But you got the idea what I mean. So you have some settings, the environmental settings, and then all the Java, all the PC where located, IP address, and your jar files, and this is the most important one. So we inject your environmental setting. That's we did it here. The environmental settings, call the environmental settings, and set all the paths. Set the path, Java path. That's we already set in the variables here. And then we have some jar files that we said in jar file is located in our local directory, or then it is here. You see the service name and then versions. This is exactly the same is here. Service name versions is a port. We already set up here as a port number, address, and this is the active profiles in developments, and this is the setup is because that's you say this is one of the example how the enterprise application deployment is done, or the installation department how we handle those things. If you are as a full stack developer, then you are responsible to do everything for your side. If you working with like big company like Google, Facebook, or YouTube, Amazon, or eBay, or this type, they have really segregated. Your development department, development done, you just send your applications like your jar files or WAR files, and they will install the application into the thousands of machines, the installation DevOps. that means the DevOps. But if you are working at a small company, then you are responsible to do every part of that. So development and deployment, installation, all things done by you side. That's why I say for the beginners and those who are working with the small company, they need to be really learn it like this way. So you have all the development, you have a configuration, application configuration files, and then you try to override this like exactly this one of the example one way, but you have different way. Maybe you can write some JSON files or YAML file or application externally and call the files and build the application, install the application. It's still possible, but I found really one of the systematic approach. Just you give the jar files and give their configuration for the installation department. Just change the what they need. Just change the your where the Java is located, where the port is free, which PC he tried to install, and then that's all. And it works automatic. Where the your Cassandra database, change the port and the key space name, and then it works automatically. What we expected. So our configuration is done. So we have jar files. We call our environmental settings. We put it our all the run with very simple commands, Java jar, and then put it everything what we need, and then so that means we fill our variables, our attributes, our properties files, our environmental files, data, our configuration data, and inject the data into the override the data in our the jar files that we build already into the application. It has the environments like production, test, development, and so on and so forth. It works. It really works that we expected as a professional way. That I mean. So I highlighted it a little bit here. So you see the really simple commands. How can you run the jar files? So if I go now, is we are going to the our database. So where is our Cassandra database installed? See the Cassandra key space name. We have the server, and then the Cassandra is installed here. So I go to the Cassandra. The starter services, that's where I say that starter services from we written down, and then simply go where your jar files, where your service located. Just you go to this directory and run the start services. That's we have it in the into the so the start services, I mean this is the start services commands that you can run it and then do it. So very simple commands, the directory commands. You can look for the directory. So you see the directory is coming. There is a start server. So where my this data is there, environmental CMD files and starts of service CMD files, and you start the service, and then so on and so forth. So this is the start.cmd files, and this is the location of where this file is located. Just you need to be start underscore service, and that's all. Then application will be started. You see the application is really started, and also started the Cassandra database in the command modes. I will talk a little bit later, more information. So you see the application started, I believe the application started 108 in the down level, 1028, the HTTP, and then this application. Now you see the information that I'm trying to discuss with you. So all the tested Postman. So I have really big coverage of this, how can you globally say you see the real environments, how can say the really Postman functionalities with global setting. How can you export your test cases and import the test cases from other colleagues and give it to them to run the test, the same test that you have it as a developer. Maybe this same test you send it to the testing department and they will test it this way. So just follow the channel. There is many example how can you systematically build a Postman test, and how can you export it, and then other colleagues at the testing department can do the test, same test that you have it as for the requirements that they need it. So you see that I have many screencasts, how can you test in it, and you see the localhost, the application is running port number 1028, and then all the health checks, all the services checks, and then so on so forth. Let's have a check what we have it. So it's a simple get methods. You see the get method simple. The head condition is started as the server is up. That's